And a very good evening to you. This is Christopher Daigan. My name is Christopher Daigan. This is coming to you from my home in KwaZulu-Natal on Saturday the 25th of September. This is the next in our live stream series, and I'm very much hoping that you can join us for the next hour for our in-concert session, where I will be playing music for you by Beethoven, Sonata Opus 110, Beethoven's second to last sonata, number 31 of the 32, a beautiful Schubert Impromptu, and Chopin's very enigmatic, not often played, Polonaise-Fantaisie. Very beautiful program and a very fitting program to certainly to my mood at the moment, and I'm really hoping that you can stay with us. I mentioned on the few days ago on Wednesday about the equinox, and I said, well, for those of you living in this part of the world, brace yourself, because there will certainly be the humidity and the changes of summer on its way, and they certainly arrived today. It has been a sweltering day, pretty warm, and most of all, when I put my jacket on and my velvet trousers, I realized, boy, the humidity is back with a vengeance. And of course, I just started sweating the minute I put them on in the dressing room, which fortunately is only a few seconds away. This evening's program is part of our Classic Adventures series, so this is repertoire that is a little bit off the, maybe not the beaten track, but it's not the most popular concert war horses. This is certainly still standard classical repertoire, but it's an opportunity to play for you and bring to you an audience that are enjoying these live streams and watching them on a regular basis some music that maybe you haven't heard before, and something that is interesting and I think very intriguing part of the repertoire. This evening's music really brings together these compositions by Chopin and Beethoven in particular, that for many people I think are some of their favorite works, and that many people have said, in particular with the Beethoven, that out of the 32 Beethoven sonatas, this is their favorite composition. In terms of the Polonaise-Fantaisie by Chopin, Opus 61, one of the last works that he wrote, piece of music that wasn't highly regarded. In fact, only until about 1942 was it really start to really enter into major pianist repertoire, when some of the great pianists like Arthur Rubinstein started playing this piece. It had often been thought to be something a bit obscure and a bit unusual. But both of these pieces have a very fine nature. There's a very unique, expressive quality about it, something quite sophisticated about the compositional style, a little bit maybe advanced in terms of its musical adventure, but very powerful and very profound music. And as I say, very fitting. I feel it's the right mood for me today. I've been a rather tricky day, a rather difficult day actually. One of those experiences when you are browsing through your social media feed and you suddenly come across a post and you realize and find that someone that you know locally quite well has actually lost their lives to the COVID pandemic just a few days ago. And it's an incredible shock always to realize and to see that and to know that the virus is still very much with us. We are still very much in lockdown for good reason. And I can only wish you all of you good health and to look after yourselves and stay well, as I always do, and hope that this music for you this evening is going to bring something of that soothing and that generous experience to really bring us all together in a moment of remembrance and really console many of those who have lost loved ones and those close to them. So the sonata, Opus 30, Opus 20, Opus 110 at least, number 31 by Beethoven, I'm going to start with. As I say, the second to last sonata that Beethoven wrote. This is very much Beethoven in his last years. Ironically, he was inspired, or actually not even inspired, he was asked, he was paid, guaranteed a fee to write 3 sonatas, which he did, Opus 109, 110 and 111 for a publisher. And it took a little bit longer than he was expecting. He was given a period of about 3 to 4 months to complete this. It did take him longer because he was sidetracked by a number of other works as well as ill health. But when he did, I mean, it's incredible to think that he wrote this music for a fee, that was the inspiration, when in fact what he is writing is some of his most profound thoughts, and certainly one of the most profound, or 3 of the most profoundly sincere, personal, dedicated and complex music of the piano repertoire. In this piece of music, the opening movement, I'm going to play you just brief ideas. It opens with a very beautiful theme in a very relaxed way. All three pieces I'm playing this evening are in the key of A flat major, which for many composers inspires a certain mellow, a certain sincerity and lyricism. So Beethoven in this opening writes a very beautiful melody. It's almost like a string quartet. There are 4 individual parts. And the reason why I play this for you is because it has a very important link to what comes later on. That is the first movement. There's lyricism, there's these cascading sounds of piano arpeggios. Kind of focus on just the piano sound, no melody, but just the atmosphere of what the piano can do itself. The ideas happen at a great rapid rate of change as they move quickly from one to another, but on the whole it's a very mellow and a very contained lyrical movement. After the first movement, Beethoven changes from this almost cerebral, gentle spirit into something quite wild, and this is very much a feature of these pieces of music that we find in the last years of his life, what we call the late period, where he contrasts the most profound, generous thoughts in terms of his intellectual capacity with some of the most bawdy romps. And so he goes straight into a selection of quoting from folk songs. Very kind of, ironically, the original folk songs which he's quoting have things like, we're all going to get together and drink beer, and my cat had 6 kittens, how many did you all have? It's very basic, very simple melodies, simple ideas that Beethoven's dealing with. After that, he leads into an introduction, a searching moment, and brings us then into the third movement proper, which is a beautiful melody, a very long line against the sustained left hand, which really speaks of great sadness. This comes to a close, a formal ending into a moment of absolute silence. So there's a finality, and out of that absolute darkness, an absolute moment of bleak, transparent air, nothingness, Beethoven then begins with what we would call a fugue. Now, I'm not going to go too much into what this is. I'm going to talk about this in another session where I'm going to analyze and talk about the piece in greater detail. But a fugue really is a very formal composition that comes from the music of Bach and Handel in particular, but Bach in particular, where Beethoven would have studied Bach's 48 preludes and fugues as a child, which pianists are still doing to this very day. And a fugue is an idea where there's a musical line, a musical kernel, you might say, which is then repeated by various voices. There are a number of voices in the hand, like there is a choir singing. This is the fugue theme. And then the next voice takes up the same theme while the first voice carries on with another line. What's unique about this and what's extraordinary about the way that Beethoven contrasts these ideas is that a fugue represents the sort of pinnacle of intellectualism in music. And so to contrast that bawdy romp of the second movement, the sorrow of the third movement with this intellectualizing really gives us a sense that Beethoven is almost trying to show us or trying to give us a path of moving beyond the sadness of where he is. And what's extremely interesting, as I said, about that fugue is that if you go to the opening theme which I played in the first movement, it's exactly the same theme. The theme which he uses in the fugue is the exact idea which he opens the first movement with. That leads into a position where he then comes back to the very great sadness of the third movement, but now has an added element of intensity where the voice almost seems to be breaking of intense sadness and exploded grief, like Beethoven is absolutely trying to portray the most sorrowful, tearful music that he could possibly produce. And out of that, again, instead of leading onto the fugue, he now brings another fugue, which uses the same theme turned upside down. It's very complicated, but just enjoy the music when you hear it. So the first theme was, the second fugue section, upside down. And this music is repeated again and again through typical fugal treatments. The theme is extended, in other words, it's played twice as long or half as long, etc. And slowly the music seems to catch flame. It's almost as though it combusts. There's an energy which comes out of this intense crystallization of the idea, that Beethoven's focusing on the same idea again and again and again with increasing intensity until the music bursts into flames and transcends the moment, transcends the absolute intensity and reality, you might say, of where he is and where the music itself is, and flies off into what Alfred Brendel calls something which is beyond music itself. So it's an incredibly magnificent work to listen to and to play. You can ignore everything that I've just told you about all of that, because you will see the music itself speaks for its own value and speaks in its own way. But it's an extraordinarily wonderful work. This is the Sonata Opus 110, number 31, by Ludwig van Beethoven. the Sonata Opus 110 in A-flat major, the 31st of the 32 piano sonatas by Ludwig van Beethoven. It was the opening work in this evening's in-concert series, featuring our current program on this particular week of the cycle, Classic Adventures, so a little bit something off the beaten track, something not of the main standard piano repertoire, the old war horses, but something a little bit more adventurous. And certainly I'm sure you'll agree that piece of music has an incredible universe, a wonderful universe of ideas, of thoughts, and so many concepts really brought together in a very condensed and rapidly moving style. I will be looking at this composition in a few weeks in one of the other Wednesday sections coming up, because it really is a piece of music that benefits greatly from A, hearing again, B, playing again for me as well, but also to be able to pull it apart a little bit more and demonstrate some of the ideas and some of the concepts involved in this. I'm going to continue. Oh yes, I've got three very exceptional, very eager looking faces. Let's see who's going to, yeah, we're going to say hello first to Wendy Pop. Hello little Wendy Pop, Wendy Pop, yes. Well, Wendy Pop. Wendy Pop, how are you doing? Yes, oh, you like the Beethoven. Yes, you found it very engaging. Yes, thank you, Wendy Pop. Thank you so much. Oh, and Lucy's very keen to jump. Come on, Lucy. No, Frida's going to come next. Yes, Frida's also, yes. Frida, how are you doing today? Oh, yes. Frida had a nice bark. Frida likes to bark at the neighbors, yes. Oh, you're feeling very relaxed. Yes, you found that very calming music. I thought so. Yes, Frida. I thought so. And let's see, here's little Lucy. Everybody's favorite little Lucy, the long-haired Dachshund. Hello, Luce. How are you today? Oh, can't seem to find a comfortable spot. There we go. You want to sit there. How are you? How is everything loose? You got a little furry paw? What did you do today, Luce? What did you get up to? Nothing. Just nothing. Lucy's the standard line. Yes, Lucy. And we're all happy. Yes, you've got a nice cushion to lie here with Frida and with Wendy Pop, and you've had dinner, so everything's happy. Yes, everything's on track. Oh, lost my microphone. Let me just put this back quickly before it disappears. So I'm going to move on to another composition, as I said, all three pieces of music in the key of A flat this evening. A little bit shorter now, the beautiful Impromptu by Franz Schubert from the second set of Impromptus. First set of four, the second set of four. This is the second of the second set of Impromptus. Very beautiful piece that has, again, this very languid, very relaxed and lyrical sense of sincerity and great beauty throughout.